Hello, this is Marc from Enchantment of Eternity.
Hi, and I'm Alyssa from Alyssa Jean's Reviews.
And we're here to talk about episode 2 of season 2 of Star Trek Lower Decks, Kayshon, His Eyes Open. So, Alyssa, what were your overall thoughts on this episode?
So first of all, just want to let everybody know that we haven't discussed this yet, so it's going to be a surprise. Yeah. we actually watched the episode together, but we kept the chatter to a minimum, so we don't know what the other person thought of it yet. So, I thought it was good. I think it's the best episode of Lower Decks in the early part of a season so far, because the early part of the first season was sort of mediocre. Last week's episode was, like a 7 out of 10. Like, I feel like that's been the quality of the first part of the seasons. And you said in your review last week, Marc, that how the producers and everybody, showrunners, were pumping it up, and season 2 is going to be great and it's going to be so much better. And you're like, yeah, they always say that. And I kind of agreed with you, but this episode actually gives me hope that maybe season 2 actually will be a little bit better than season 1. I thought there's a lot of great humor in it. I actually liked the storylines. I actually liked the competition between Mariner and that new dude. And my favorite part was that, and this is the one thing I did say to you after it was finished, that I like this because they didn't have a separate B plot with Tendi and Rutherford. It works so much better when they just incorporate them into the A plot. So the B plot this week was with Boimler instead. And there's sort of a C plot with Captain Freeman as well, a little tiny bit of a plot there. But I prefer it when they just put Rutherford and Tendi in with the other characters. I think that works a lot better. And I liked the new Sumerian head of security. I had seen him in the previews. I was telling Marc this yesterday. I thought that he was, when I first saw him in the trailer, thought he was going to be a one-off joke. I'm happy that he's going to be a recurring character, though I do wonder if that joke is going to get old. Like, how much are they going to be able to stretch that out? I'm interested to see how they are able to do that, but I did think he was funny in the first episode. So overall, I enjoyed this episode.
Yeah, so I thought this episode sucked. No, no, I agree. I
knew you were kidding.
I think it was definitely a huge improvement over last week's episode. I think this was the season 2 I was kind of hoping for, so I hope the rest of the season 2 more goes in this direction. I agree with pretty much everything you said, especially the thing about the Tendi and Rutherford being together and not on their own separate plot. I'm a bit worried now that Boimler is back, that they might try to, because Boimler was a B plot this time, that they might be more inclined to try to make Tendi and Rutherford the B plot again. But I hope they resist the urge. Maybe give it to some of the senior staff or someone. Give someone else a B plot for once. Like, I think Tendi and Rutherford definitely work better with with Mariner and the other characters. And yeah, I think the humor was definitely more on point. The storyline was more on point. Like this, yeah, I thought this was one of the better episodes of the show, if I'm being honest.
Yeah.
Like it kept me engaged throughout. It was funny throughout. I was never like, oh, what's this stupid B plot? Let's get back to, like, both plots are like really interesting, had the humor, and were great character drivers. So yeah, this is what I'm looking for, and I hope I hope they maintain this quality throughout the rest of season 2.
That's exactly how I felt. Like, I hope that they're able to maintain this, and I'm not convinced yet that they are going to be able to, but I hope that they can. I'm looking forward to seeing what they do going forward. Like, are they going to be able to keep this Temerian fresh? Are they going to be able to reincorporate Boimler without, having to resort to Tindy and Rutherford and B plots.
Yeah.
This new guy, what was his name? Like Jeff or something?
Oh, I can't even remember that. Yeah.
Yeah. We did talk about that briefly afterwards, whether or not he might be a reoccurring character. You thought he might be a one-off.
Yeah.
I think he should be a reoccurring character, personally. I think it'd be good to have a new character.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised either way. I think they could go either way. I think it would be more interesting if he did reappear, but not as like a main regular every episode character, but more of like every once in a while.
Yeah, I think we will probably see him
like
again.
The Barclay of Lower Decks.
Except not as annoying.
Yeah.
And it was interesting too. I mean, we're gonna probably go through the episode in a minute either, but it's interesting that the I forget his name, but the bird counselor is now sitting there like his Counselor Troy.
That was interesting.
Yeah, we can talk about it more as we go through it. So we're going to go through, I think we want to talk about the Mariner, the main plot first, and then touch on the Boimler stuff.
Yeah. So let's start with the teaser opening scene with the sonic shower. I don't know. I know you're probably going to disagree. Everyone is going to disagree with me. I'm only the one that feels I'm probably the only one who's bothered by this. And I talked about this general concept before in other stuff of Lower Decks, and this is something that bothered me in the Next Generation episode of Lower Decks. The fact that all the Lower Deckers, in that episode they were sharing quarters. In this episode they like all sleep in the same quarter, which I think goes again. It's a bit ridiculous for Starfleet. Like they have enough space so they all get their own room, and so the sonic shower scene just bothered me that they had these communal sonic showers instead of their own private ones. But I guess it's in line with, so it harkens back to my larger issue with the whole sleeping in the quarter thing, because I guess if they are going to sleep in the quarter, it makes sense that they all have communal shared showers, but for some reason that irks me. But like I said, I think I'm the only one that's going to be bothered by that.
I don't know. I can't speak to whether you're the only one that'll be bothered by that, but I don't. I know. I can speak for myself. Yeah. I disagree. I mean, I think it makes a lot of sense to have. I think we probably discussed this last year too. I am okay with them having their own not shared quarters and sleeping on bunks, because for one thing, the Cerritos is not the Enterprise. It's not a Galaxy class. It's been well established. It's like kind of the lower. They do this, the Second Contacts, and they're kind of a lower class ship amongst Starfleet, so they're going to get the lower type of ship. So they don't have. It makes sense to me. They wouldn't have room for everybody, and I think the humor of that works well. So I've never had any problem with that whole concept, and I thought the opening scene was funny. I really enjoyed the shower scene, actually.
I buy the tight shared quarters on the Defiant, because that is a short range warship. But I think even a lower, lesser ship than the Enterprise would still have, that's meant for long-term travel, and that it has the 24th century Starfleet technology. They should at least have their own.
Yeah, but it works for the show because the whole point of it is that they're the lower decks and they're lower class.
Yeah.
So I think whether or not you find that believable, I think it works.
I suppose you're right. I mean, it's just something that will always bother me.
Yeah. Well, what did you think of the scene itself, or were you just bothered by that whole concept?
Yeah, it kind of interfered with but the I like the whole. It was funny. I will say that it was a funny scene how Mariner and the other dude kept trying to. It was a good way to introduce their adversarial relationship and how they kept trying to one up themselves into a ridiculous extreme where they turned the showers up ridiculously high and everyone was running out screaming. I was actually hoping that they would have a follow-up scene where Mariner and the other dude would be completely burned and unable to move.
Yeah, that would have hindered the rest of the episode.
Yeah, of course. I mean, they could have one scene and just move on.
Yeah, and he I got a little distracted when he threw in the Steve Rogers line. He was like, "I can do this all day."
Yeah.
And the Mariner was something like, "This is really comfortable." Yeah, no, I thought that was great, and I think I was telling you this off air too, that we haven't really seen the sonic showers all that much. They always talk about them, and I'm in the middle of my Voyager rewatch, and I just did an episode recently somewhere in season 5 where B'Elanna gets in this sonic shower, and it's the only time that I can think of. And you think that might be like the only time they've ever shown it?
Extreme Risk is the name of the episode, I believe. And I think that's the only time they ever show this sonic shower in Star Trek.
Yeah, so they're and it's funny, like I would have not, if I hadn't just watched that episode like a couple weeks ago, I would not necessarily have been familiar with the whole sonic shower thing, except that they always talk about it a lot during Star Trek. I'm assuming that that's a Starship specific thing. I would think if you're on Earth, you could have water. That's just, sonic showers don't seem that appealing to me.
No. I think they had them in Deep Space Nine too.
Yeah.
Yeah, if I remember. But,
yeah, I mean anywhere in space. I
know
what
you
mean. But like if you're on a planet, I feel like you should be able to have water. But I don't know. Or at least the option for it.
Maybe it's just like a futuristic thing. In the future, they're too good for water.
Anyways, I thought it was a great way to open the episode and a great way to introduce this new character in that adversarial relationship, as you said.
So I want to talk about. I do want to talk about the bird counselor now. Because the very next scene we see him. They didn't have this before. They have the third chair, like the Counselor Troy chair, and I don't think they ever had that before.
I don't remember there being a third chair at all.
And it seems like, and now he's like they're treating him kind of like a main character. Where before he was only in that one episode, I believe.
Yeah, he was only in episode 9 of last year. Where he was Mariner's counselor.
And he was like on the bridge on the third chair. So it seems like they're gonna make him. And I think. I felt like when I first saw him there, it felt like that was a dig at the Counselor Troy thing being in the third chair. Like this is a kind of nothing character who was like goofy and just talks about food, and yet he's in like the third chair. Yeah,
it really never did make sense that Counselor Troy would be sitting in that third chair. Anyways,
but I'm sorry, but maybe I'll get over this eventually. But I can never, like, every time I hear that character, I just think it's Mr. Peanut Butter.
From BoJack Horseman?
Yeah, from BoJack Horseman. Yeah, it's the same actor who...
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't even know.
I guess you're not as obsessed with that show as me, but as soon as and that's all I ever see. I'll see Mr. Peanut Butters when I hear that voice.
Oh, I'm sure I'll notice that next time.
Yeah, because Paul F. Thompson, he actually did a podcast with the actress who played Mariner about Lower Decks, or about Star Trek in general. And so I think they just liked that actor and trying to bring him back more, which is fair because I like that actor too.
Oh, okay. All right. And now I didn't even realize it. Now I probably will next time I watch it. But one thing that actually occurred to me after the episode is that, so they have a cat doctor and a bird person. And they actually did interact at the end of the episode where she got that like handwritten sign.
Oh yeah.
Like, do not touch this puppet. Not a real puppet. And he's like, oh, look at this puppet. She's like, don't touch him. But it actually didn't occur to me as I was watching it. But it occurred to me when I was thinking about it later. Wait, a cat, a doctor, and a bird. Is that bird in danger? Should we be worried about the counselor?
I think there would be some good comedy. Opportunities to play with that, but I mean they shouldn't like play too much into it because she's not really a cat. She's cat-like.
Yeah, she's what? Do you remember the name of that species? They're in the animated series.
Yeah, it's something with the word cat in it. It's like catatonic.
Not catatonic, but
Catan or no, that's a board game. I don't know, something with the word cat in it.
Yeah, and it's a type of species that can really only have an animation. And same with the bird guy.
Yes.
Can you imagine like trying to do that in real live action? It would look silly probably.
Yes, it absolutely would. Yeah, and then we can talk about Kayshon, the introduction I'm wondering what you thought of that, because you seem to laugh a lot and find it funny. I thought it was funny too, but it's kind of we both have a similar opinion on the episode Darmok. That language that they present in Darmok is impractical and doesn't make practical sense, and both interfered with our enjoyment of that episode. So I'm wondering if that factored in with this kid, because I kind of did, but then on the other hand, it's like they're making fun of how impractical that language is. So that's actually,
well, that's why I enjoyed it, because they're making fun of that. My only concern, as I mentioned earlier, is how are they going to keep that fresh? Like, I feel like that's going to get old really fast. So I was surprised that he was the new security chief, because I assumed when I saw him in the trailer he would be a one-off character. In fact, I thought it would be a one-off line. But I would have been okay with him being a one-episode character, but I'm curious how they're going to keep that fresh for several episodes if he's going to be the regular security officer now.
The one use I did like within the one joke I found funny is when they beamed over to the collector ship, and there was like, "Oh, were you discussing the sentience of the robot or some shit?" It's like, "Oh, I don't recall. Let me check our logs." like the sort of naivete of this character would probably play in really well in the future. As
I liked it when he was hitting on that girl at the end.
What did he say?
I don't remember his line.
It was a very cheesy, stereotypical, well-known pickup line, but told from his from the Tamarian in the Tamarian fashion.
I thought it was really funny.
It was something about, "Are you tired because you've been running in my mind all night?" I think I was telling you after the episode that I got kind of the Orville vibes from this, because they also replaced the security officer at the start of the second season with a new character. But I think, I'm not talking about that show, but I think that this character I actually have a lot more sort of hope for. I think he might bring more, and because I loved Shaq so much, I was kind of disappointed that they killed him off, and I was hoping maybe they'd do a Star Trek 3 riff and bring him back and make fun of it. But if we're just moving on, then I think I was wondering how that dynamic would work without him. But I think this is a good different direction to go.
Yeah, I still like to see if they're going to be able to keep it fresh.
Yeah.
But we'll see. We'll see what they do with it.
So you want to talk about the collectors?
Yeah. One thing I was mentioning to you off air is because we also watched What If, and we're going to be doing our What If discussion later this evening with Darren on my channel. Check it out, 6 o'clock West Coast time. It's weird that they both had collectors. I watched these back-to-back episodes with the collector theme. And the collector in What If is, of course, from the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And in this case, it seems to be a play off of the episode Most Toys from The Next Generation. You remember the name of that actor?
Yeah, the character, I don't know that.
The character.
The character was Kivos Fajo.
Okay.
I think the actor is Saul Rubinek, I believe.
Yeah, and they, so it seems like they are playing off of that.
He's the first thing I thought of when they said the collectors.
Yeah, I think that's what they're
But in the episode Most Toys, I think he was pretending to be someone else, not be a collector. But here it's an established. It seems like
this is years later, so maybe the collectors.
Yeah,
have become a
that's
thing.
very true. Yeah, that's true.
The collectors have become a thing.
A thing.
They and based on what we see for this one collector, and then even the holographic. Painting of the dead one, they definitely seem to be very selfish, asshole.
I did get very strong Kivos Fajo vibes.
I think they're definitely basing it off of that. So that character now spurned a whole bunch of other collectors, or maybe they already were in existence, and they.
Yeah, he seemed to have other collector friends in that episode. Yeah.
So. And I thought it was odd that there was a painting until they had that scene when it came to life as a hologram. But why would there be a painting of him? This isn't. That's weird. Anyways.
Yes, I don't know how big I was into the idea of you having these collectors, but it was, just a moving off point for the plot, I guess.
Yeah. They did a lot. It was more about the characters and the rivalry between Mariner.
I mean,
and
the fact that
dude.
the collector dude ended up being the one who actually stole the thing and triggered the security system. That's super predictable, but it's okay.
I didn't quite. We went into. I didn't quite get the joke with that helmet was some kind of sex thing, like Kalis' sex toy.
Yeah, no, they mentioned it was. Oh, I can't remember the exact term they used, but they said it was Kalis's like mating helmet, or the helmet he used to protect himself when he was mating or something.
Oh yeah, that was weird. Yeah, and that's the thing that he stole, and then But yeah, I wasn't super keen on that character, but I loved a lot of the scenes when they were running away from all of those different things. And my favorite is when Mariner is like, she's like, "Oh, what's this gonna do? Vacuum us to death?" And like, "Oh my god, the vacuum us to death!"
That was hilarious. She's kind of triggered it by, just get this thing away and smacked it. They all started converging. Yeah, that was hilarious. And then turning Kayshon into a puppet. That was kind of funny too. I did think it was a strong possibility that Kayshon was gonna die right there.
I thought maybe we were gonna do like Star Trek: The Next Generation in the first season with the engineer of the episode.
Oh right, yeah, I would like that.
I thought they were gonna do a security chief of the week, but I guess not.
Yeah, but yeah, the whole adversarial relationship between what's his face and Mariner. Probably should have looked up his name, but yeah, that was played well. Like, I think I did like that. I thought it was hilarious how they kept trying to one up themselves, but then just made things worse until they realized, hey, maybe we shouldn't be making decisions at all. And I thought that was a good use of Rutherford.
It was a great use of Rutherford and Tandy, not having them off in their own B plot, like having them be the ones who are like, hey, what do you guys think? And them being the ones that come up with the solution. I loved that. I was going to ask you, though, about this character. Here's why I think he would be good to reoccur. Okay. And maybe you might disagree with me on this. But I felt they were setting up for a bit of a romance between him and Mariner. And personally, I would prefer that over Mariner and Boimler.
Well, yeah. I mean...
I think Mariner and Boimler work best as best buddies. Yeah. Like pals, like really good friends. I think that's what they should be. So I would rather her go in a romantic direction with this guy. But it sounds like you don't want to see that either.
I wouldn't want either choice. Yeah. I mean, I agree it's better than Boimler, but still, I don't know. Like, I guess it'd be okay. Just my initial reaction is like, I mean, does he really need a romantic interest at all?
No, but I would prefer that over Boimler. So I
mean, sure.
I thought they had good. I honestly thought the two characters had good chemistry together, and I thought their adversarial nature or a relationship was really realistic, especially just as how stubborn as Mariner is, and introducing another character just as stubborn as she is. I thought that was a good foil for her. I thought it was a really good dynamic that worked well.
Yeah, but he is just as stubborn as her, but on a different sort of level.
Yeah. Which I think works. If he was exactly like Mariner, then it wouldn't work.
Yeah. No, I'm agreeing. Yeah. It's because he is more by the book, and she's more like, I just want to rebel and not do things by the book.
I felt bad for the guy at the end. I would like to see him come back because I kind of felt bad for him. He's like,
I thought that was funny. Like, as soon as Boimler comes back, I was like, you might want to just go.
It was funny, but I still felt bad for the guy. Like, I would like to see him come back.
But it was funny at first because the whole time she was like, but Boimler did this, and Boimler's just like, I'm not Boimler. Should we talk about Boimler, or do we have more to say on this? God, I thought there was one other thing I wanted to say. Oh, you already talked about the whole puppet thing where it's had a sign saying, "As a person, do not play with." I remember what I want. The Captain Freeman, her little bits about, do you think I'm the micromanage and everyone? I like laughed hysterically because everyone at the same time like just looked to the side and gave a look like, when she said that. And then so the one time she doesn't micromanage is when her security chief gets turned into a puppet. She's like, "That's it, I'm gonna micromanage him."
This is what I get for being hands off. Never again. And it was from Starfleet Command too, telling her not to micromanage as much. But yeah, no, I thought that plot worked really well too. I thought that was funny, and it wasn't overplayed. I actually like the. I think the command crew in most episodes should be used as a B plot or C plot, honestly, because the show is called Lower Decks. And they made Captain Freeman Mariner's mom, so that made her by default more of a front and center character. But I like it when they are more background, and we do focus on the Lower Decks.
I think that is the best episodes. The one I like the most is when they're used more sort of as a B plot or to the side characters.
Yeah, I think that's how it should be.
Which is last week they focused too much on Ransom and Freeman.
Yeah.
All right, let's talk about the Boimler storyline.
Yeah, so I liked how they showed more of him on the Titan. I was wondering how much they were going to do that because last week it was just a very predictable joke. We're like, "Oh, Boimler, wonder what he's having the time of his life," and it was actually in the trailer too. But I already knew that. But
they replayed that joke for this episode.
Yeah, and they redid that joke again. But then they did more.
They expanded upon it.
I liked that Boimler. I was afraid they were going to show him as way too incompetent, and they did have a little bit of funny jokes, like when he was, what did Riker say? And he was writing it down, and Riker's like, "You don't have to write that down." It's like, "You don't have to write that down." So I like that they were able to get some humor out of the fact that he is way more inexperienced than the rest of them. But I like that he went on an away mission. They seemed to include him as part of the crew. And I was worried that it was going to be a little too he's super incompetent and a little too much like that. But I liked the dynamics. I don't know the names of any of those characters. Or was the first officer like an Orion or something, or is she some greenish?
I didn't know.
Race. I think she's the first officer.
I think she might be like a new alien.
Yeah. I thought I remember in last week's episode she was sitting in the first officer.
Oh, okay.
Chair, I think she's the first officer.
Okay, I didn't notice that.
Yeah.
I just realized something. Counselor Troy wasn't in this episode, was she?
No, was she in last week's either?
No, she wasn't. She was in the finale though.
Yeah, she was in the finale. Yeah. Well, they probably just couldn't get Marina.
Yeah, that's fine. And that's fine.
And and speaking of having that counselor chair, like you wouldn't need that, especially during these like fierce battles and chases. Counselor Troy sitting there. It was stupid when there was in the Next Generation, but I actually enjoyed how they juxtaposed how the Cerritos doing these boring missions with the fast pace. And I actually really enjoyed Boimler's speech at the end when he was just like, "I don't want to join Starfleet to shoot people." And he was bringing in old episodes and of course brought in the Second Chance. Was it called Second Chance?
Second Chances,
episode that ends up coming into play later.
As soon as they referenced that, I knew it was going to happen.
I actually didn't. I didn't necessarily.
Oh, really?
The thought occurred to me, but I didn't necessarily.
Well, is it because he said that he was going to use the same what happened on that planet in order to get him.
Oh, I think I missed that part.
And so I was like, oh, so it's gonna duplicate him again. It's gonna use the same method that happened there, because that's what brought it up. But I think, but before we get too much into that, I also wanted to mention some of the when he was like dressed up as a miner and it was like, oh, I'm a miner. It's like, dude, you're so Starfleet. It's so obvious. Which I thought was hilarious, and I liked that the other characters in that away team still like appreciated him and didn't like try to put him down and be like, I think that worked. And he actually was the one that came up with the plan that got him out of there, so he really showed his worth rather than just being incompetent. So yes, that really works for me. And the whole thing about the Enterprise D, when they were making, the other officers were making fun of the Enterprise D for being, they just sitting in a luxury liner and just what did they say, string quartets or something?
They mentioned like there's like 3 nursery schools.
Yeah.
They're wasting time with string quartets. Yeah. And Boimler's like, I like string quartets.
Yeah, and I thought that was a good dig at the Enterprise because TNG did start off a bit too much like making it. A lot of people call it like an apartment complex in space, and there's like kids running around. Yeah. Which doesn't really square with where they took Starfleet after this first 3 seasons.
Yeah. It's a luxury cruiser on the Enterprise.
So the duplication.
Yeah.
I liked it. I loved that. I thought this was hilarious. I loved that. See, I talked about how, and I'm kind of eating my words now because the last weeks I talked about how you have to go to TOS to make fun of the more outrageous things, but no, there's some outrageous things in TNG.
Yeah, I wasn't there with you when you said that, but I was like, no, I don't think so.
Giant
things.
Lincoln and Hand in Space.
Yeah, sure, but there's plenty of outrageous stuff in all of the other series.
True, but I still stand by TOS as the most outrageous.
Yeah.
But still, you can pick, and I love how they treat it like it's a normal thing, where Riker's like, "Oh, duplication! I know how that goes."
And I love how the Boimler stays behind. Is like, I think I'll change my name. How about William?
That was hilarious. I gotta ask, when the other shuttle came out, did you know right away that was his duplicate?
Yeah, I did. I did, but I didn't put it together before that. Because I don't think I noticed that it was the same exact procedure from that episode. Yeah. Because he mentioned that episode before that. When he was giving his little speech, he talked about Riker getting duplicated.
Yeah, but that's what he's like. Oh, that gives me the idea.
And that's what gave him that.
To use the same thing to get it together. But
so I suspect we're going to see that other Boimler, and he's going to probably be like a lieutenant commander. he's going to be like totally different. Ass. Yeah, he's going to be like kicking ass.
I wonder if they're going to give him like a goatee or beard or something.
I bet
they're probably going to give him a Riker beard.
They'll give him a Riker beard. And it was. I mean, it's sometimes with the cartoon, I just like have to roll with some things. But it was dumb that he was like, you have to go back to the Cerritos as an ensign. Like,
I kind of feel like that's a dig at Harry Kim. Like, how he was an ensign forever, but
but he was promoted though. He was a junior grade lieutenant. So you have to go backwards to an ensign so we can reset the show back to where it was.
It was really funny how like the two Boimlers, to see them interact and they're both like acting exactly the same, and then they're like, all right, who volunteers to go back? And he steps forward. It's like, wait, I thought we were gonna do it at the same time. It's like, no, I'm cool here. That was absolutely hilarious, and it was the funniest thing ever when they got back to the Cerritos and they're like, boy, how'd you get back here? Oh, I was transported, duplicated. And this is like Rutherford's like, or was it Tendi?
It was Tendi was like pay up.
Pay up. Like the fact that they take like such absurd circumstances and treat it nonchalantly is.
Well, I think Boimler even said, "You knew that was going to happen." She's like, "Yeah, that's such a Boimler thing to do." I don't think it's really a Boimler thing to do, but apparently.
But that was really funny.
Yeah. He was like, "Oh yeah," and he was so nonchalant about how he was like, "Yeah, I got transporter cloned." Like, that's a normal thing that happens all the time. Yeah, I got transporter cloned. I knew it. Pay up.
Yeah, whereas, this is where I give suspension of disbelief for a comedy. Like, it's a comedy show, that's fine. But in a normal Star Trek show, they wouldn't treat it as a normal everyday thing. They would still treat it as a very weird occurrence. But actually, I think that's great comedy. I think it works well for the show. The way they take these absurd, over-the-top circumstances that happen in Star Trek. They're supposed to be rare, but there's so many episodes about it. It's like, it's not rare because all the weird stuff happens. And they just treat it like it's a normal, everyday thing. I think that's brilliant.
Yeah.
All right, so are we ready to give ratings for the episode?
Yeah.
As a whole, do you want to go first?
I will go first. I'm gonna give it a 9. I don't throw around 10, so I was thinking of a little higher because I really love this episode. But I'm gonna give it a 9.
I was this close to giving it a 9, but I think I'll stick with an 8. But it's like a high 8 on the verge of a 9. I don't think it's quite, because I feel like this show could actually do better.
Yeah.
So I don't want.
Well, that's why I gave it a 9.
Yeah. So I don't want to throw out a 9 to her. But I don't know. Maybe in retrospect, looking back on the rest of the season, I will think of it as a 9. I don't know. But right now, I'm going to say a high 8.
Yeah, because I gave last week a 7, and I think 2 points higher is appropriate. I thought it was a lot better.
Well, for me that was a 7 bordering on a 6. This is an 8 bordering on a 9.
That's why you gotta give 0.5.
Yeah.
That's why I do 0.5.
Yeah.
That's how I settle those differences. But to me, this is a solid 9. It's more closer to 10 than it is 8.
Oh, right.
But you're right that I think that they can do better. So that's why I wouldn't give it a 10.
Yeah, I don't know. It didn't quite reach that height to me, but I mainly love because the main storyline, as much as I liked it, I didn't think it was that great. But it's mainly the Boimler stuff. That I love. Like the whole transported duplicate thing at the end. Like that's pure gold. The stuff, like the jokes with the Tamarian with his language. I don't know. I'm kind of more iffy on that.
Well, that's why I think there's only so much so often you can milk that cow. I think there's only so much they're going to be able to get out of that. I thought it was fine for this episode, but it's like, how are they going to just keep doing that every episode? It seems like it might get old.
Yeah, I kind of agree, but maybe they could take this character in a different direction.
Yeah, he may not also appear every episode as well.
Yeah,
and in this episode, he was. He was the leader of the away team, one of the main characters, but got turned into a puppet for most of the episode. So he really wasn't in it that much.
Yeah.
If maybe that'll be the running gag with him, he'll be turned into different things every time he appears.
Yeah, which is why I don't think it's actually the most appropriate title for the episode, because it's not really about him.
Yeah, it's a really weird title for that particular episode. I think something more related to the collectors might have made more sense.
Or, well, you don't want to give away Boimler's doom.
Yeah, you don't want to give away that.
All right, so ready to wrap things up then?
Yeah. So if you happen to be watching this on Enchantment of Eternity, you can also watch the same exact video on my channel, but you don't have to do that. But on a weekly basis, normally we do separate reviews, so you can watch his video on Enchantment of Eternity, his review for Lower Decks, and then come over to my channel and watch my review He probably have his uploaded first, so you watch his first, and then come over to List Gene Reviews and check out my review for Lower Decks Weekly, and also I've got my favorite and least favorite of the original series, Next Generation, and Deep Space Nine. All of that is posted. And we're also covering Marvel. So as I plugged earlier, every Thursday we'll be Mark and I and a third guest will be doing what if discussions on Marvel's What If. So tonight we'll be discussing the T'Challa episode with our friend Darren from D's Reviews. So that is all on Alyssa Jean's Reviews. So go check it out and subscribe.
So usually I'm on the other coast. I usually do these reviews by myself, which I will be doing, covering the rest of Lower Decks, and I just put out Star Wars Clone Wars, the first season I covered, and I'll continue covering more seasons of that, and also other shows, Better Call Saul, lots of other Star Trek videos and stuff like that you can check out on Enchantment of Eternity. And as Alyssa said, I'll be on her channel every week talking about What If, so be sure to check that out over on her channel as well. So yes, thank you everyone for watching.
See you next time.